This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Friday, July 21st, 2023. I'm Alex Brown. Officials with the Career Academy network of charter schools have cut the ribbon on a new K-5 school in South Bend. Superintendent Jeremy Lugbill says it comes with a somewhat novel model in education, seeking to expose the youngest students to careers and workforce opportunities at least once a week.
The intent more is to be strategic and intentional in helping students discover who they are and putting them in situations where they're collaborating and working with people in industry. Your top-notch people that can speak to the different career options. It's important for our students to see themselves in those roles.
Success Academy at Boys and Girls Club will begin small with no more than 150 students in its first year. Warsaw-based Lakeland Financial Corporation announced today it is the victim of international wire fraud that cost the company more than $18 million. The parent of Lake City Bank said in its quarterly earnings report that the incident did not result in any client information being compromised. Indiana's unemployment rate last month was 3.2%, up from 3.1% the previous month, where the state has stayed for most of this year. The Indiana Department of Workforce Development said today that private sector jobs dropped by 3,100. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
For 25 years, we've had the honor of telling the story of Indiana business. More than 1,300 shows, 8,000 interviews. We've traveled from Valparaiso to Versailles, Fort Wayne to Fort Branch, and everywhere in between. And we are just getting started. Our team is passionate about Indiana business because your story is worth telling. Join us every week as we travel the state to bring you Indiana's story. Inside Indiana Business, 25 years and counting.
Mike Pence's continued single-digit performance in the polls, coupled with lackluster fundraising numbers, are casting doubts on the long-term viability of his presidential campaign.
The former vice president raised a modest $1.2 million for his presidential bid in the second quarter, while the super PAC supporting him raised $2.6 million. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump's campaign said it collected $35 million for the quarter, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis drew about $20 million, according to campaign finance reports filed last weekend. Pence also has yet to reach one of the key requirements to qualify for the first Republican presidential debate next month, obtaining a minimum of 40,000 unique donors. 6 other Republican candidates already have met that threshold. A Pence spokesperson did not respond to the IBJ's multiple requests for comment, but when asked on multiple TV stations whether his campaign would meet that metric, Pence assured viewers he would qualify. To make it to the debate stage, candidates must also poll 1% in 2 national polls and 2 early state polls, a hurdle Pence would likely clear given he currently hovers around 7% and 5/38 average of polls. Candidates have until 48 hours prior to the August 23rd debate, which will be held in Milwaukee, to meet the polling and fundraising requirements. Kate Sharon, Inside Indiana Business, Radio.
The calendar for the new multi-purpose Indiana Farm Bureau Fall Creek Pavilion is filling up. Indiana State Fairgrounds officials opened the 196,000 square foot building yesterday, also announcing the venue will host the 2024 and 25 editions of the nation's largest swine show, known as the Exposition. It will also host future editions of the USA Track and Field National Indoor Championships and USA Track and Field National Youth Indoor Championships. Fall Creek Pavilion's $50 million price tag included a wing for public safety operations at the fairgrounds and the rerouting of a storm water system under the former swine barn, which was mostly raised for the new building. The much-anticipated film Oppenheimer has premiered, and the IMAX Theater at the Indiana State Museum in downtown Indianapolis is one of only a handful of theaters that can show the movie as it was meant to be seen, on 70mm film. Theater manager Neil Johankin told IIB before the film's premiere that some 14,000 tickets have been sold thus far.
We have outgrossed every other movie that we've played post-pandemic. That includes Spider-Man No Way Home, that includes Top Gun Maverick, and that includes Avatar The Way of Water. We've outgrossed their entire runs.
The theater is hosting 64 showings through August 9th. Johankin said business is steady, much like other premium theaters, but a couple of popular releases a year certainly helps the bottom line. Indianapolis Indians broadcaster Howard Kellman is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio On Demand.